Hello and welcome to Spider-Man Homecoming Review. You got myself Apps here, and once again I'm joined by Mr. Adkins, not Adcock. How you doing?
I'm very well, baby. Yourself?
Not too bad, not too bad. I'm a bit drunk actually. I've had some wine
Cool.
tonight and a little cider to wash it down after, but uh,
Fruity or?
fruity. Yeah. So what I have is a few, either like a bottle of red or
Yeah.
bottle and a half, whatever. I'll just have more than the other half, and then at the end I have a fruit cider to wash it down. Great combination, if you ask me.
Good.
Um,
Lager sometimes.
sometimes cider. Different drinks, different needs. Before we get into this, this will be the first review we've done since the
Cool.
passing of your hero Barry Norman.
Oh,
Um,
mate, tatters. This is why we've had a lull.
yeah, it was
Content.
in a stage of mourning.
We have.
Um, so I just wanted to bring that up because obviously it's been a huge influence on your meteoric rise through the critic circle.
Yes.
Um, you touted yourself as Barry Norman Jr. and hopefully you'll carry that legacy
Well.
forward, starting with Marvel's latest outing of
Well.
Spider-Man.
Cool.
So before we get started into the
Yeah.
actual film, let's talk about Spider-Man a little bit. As a hero,
Yeah.
where's he six? We know you love your superheroes.
I do love us. He's he's been overused
He
as of
has,
late. I
yeah,
used
yeah,
to love him as a kid.
yeah.
I even had like birthday parties in my late teens.
Jesus, yeah.
Of
That is
I've
sad,
got
isn't it?
stuff. Yeah, real bad. I had comics.
Yeah.
I had I had all the films, every single game that come out,
Got
and
them
then
all.
as I've grown older,
Yeah.
it's become repellent.
Is that just because you've been overused, or have you just
Yeah,
gone off the whole Spider-Man vibe? Like he's
I
little
like
cheeky
him,
chappy, like
but I think the others have come up and knocked him out of the park. To be honest, so, like
right,
Deadpool, and then known Deadpool as a kid. I think Deadpool's better than Spider-Man now.
right.
He's sort of out Spider-Man, Spider-Man.
I see.
You
I
know
see.
that with that wit. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. He certainly had. Yeah, that was Spider-Man's shtick, wasn't it? Being the witty sort of, being able to use his little put downs and whatnot, and
Yeah.
obviously Deadpool takes it to a new level. I'm assuming that you've seen many, if not all, of the previous kind of Spider-Man films. They started kind of coming back
Yeah.
um, in 2002 with Sam Raimi's films. So you had Spider-Man, Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 3.
Yeah.
Then in 2012 we got The Amazing Spider-Man and The Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
Have you seen those films? And if so, do you have a preference as to what style you preferred out of the two sort of
Um,
distinct efforts?
yeah, I think I would have seen all five of them
Yeah.
in the cinema at
Yes.
definitely the week of release.
Yeah.
Maybe not day one, but the
No.
week release. Um, I really like the first two
Yeah.
Raimi films. Even went to the premiere and met Sir Raimi.
Did you?
Yeah, me
Fantastic.
and young Pearson.
Oh,
We went.
well,
Yeah,
2002 would have been Nipper country then, wouldn't it? It's a long
oh, would have
time.
been. Yeah, 2002. Oh, I ain't even doing
Yeah.
that. Sums on a Saturday night here. Um, But yeah, we was at the what's it called, at the Leicester Square Odeon, and he popped his little head out of a
Ah.
limousine and said, "Thanks for coming." And I said, "Hello, mate.
Who are
Like
you?
work?" And he went, "Piss off." No, I didn't.
Will you piss off and leave me alone? I'm walking to John O'Groats for some spastics in my in my limo.
He
So
was. What other films did he? He done. Oh, he done all the Evil Dead shit, didn't
yeah, yeah, he's been around for a while,
he? Yes.
and
Good lad.
so you like those two. The
Yeah,
third one, I
like those
think
two. The
everyone can.
third one, Pile
Yeah.
of Trash. It had so much hope. When I found out that they were going to have Venom in it, I was like, "This is
Well,
gonna be amazing."
that's the story that as a kid I always wanted to see in the live action space. For
Yeah,
whatever reason, Venom was like the most interesting to me. And it
yeah,
turned out he got about 12 minutes of screen time at the
yeah.
at the arse end of the film. So I was,
And it
what?
was worst casting in cinema history.
Yeah, it wasn't great, was it? Um,
Uh,
I haven't seen the Amazing Spider-Man
oh,
films, so where do they stand in comparison to what Raimi put out?
well, the first ones, or after the shit show of number three that Raimi
Yeah,
produced, I sort of lost a bit of faith.
yeah,
So when the first Amazing Spider-Man came out, it was a reboot, wasn't it? Another like the
Yeah,
first
it's a new
reboot.
direction. They just scrapped the previous film, said, "Look, this is our
That's it.
version of him. Here you
And like, I
go."
was thinking, right, okay, they're looking like they're sticking more to the comics with having the
Hmm.
wrist web shooters rather than it actually coming out of his skin, which
Yeah,
Raimi went for.
yeah,
Um, and what other things were there? There's little bits like that, and I thought, okay, and he felt more like the comic Spider-Man, where
yep,
he's sort of comedic and certainly
yeah.
younger than what Tobey Maguire was.
Sure, yeah, yeah.
So I was thinking, oh, okay, this is a lot of good take. I quite liked it as well. Did I watch it in 3D? I can't remember.
Probably it's probably when 3D was like you
Yeah,
have
it
to.
was when it was big, wasn't it?
Mm.
I have a point to make on 3D
Oh
later on.
right,
Just thing. I watched
incoming.
the new one in 3D, and that is a big no-no.
Oh right, well,
Right.
we will get to that
But
surely.
yeah, so I like the first one,
Yeah,
and then the second one that became a bit of a shit shower as well. I think they
mm.
just overdid it.
Yeah, yeah. He's been one of the most, he's been around for a while, and film wise, been especially like post 2000, he's been one of the more overused superheroes. I mean, we've had five since 2002, which is a fair old amount.
Mm.
We then come to this Marvel Cinematic Universe,
Yeah.
which we know from previous reviews is going on, and this is part of that. This new take, because this is another new take on Spider-Man, the Amazing Spider-Man bin, Raimi bin. This is another new version of him, and
Hmm.
we got our first look at this version of Spider-Man in Captain America: Civil War.
Yeah.
I assume you've seen that.
Yep. I've
And
seen.
when you first saw this version of Spider-Man, what were your thoughts? Were you intrigued, happy, disappointed? He's not in it
Um,
for long, but give him a fair amount of screen time in
no.
there.
I was confused as to why they got rid of. I quite liked Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man, and I thought he
Right.
was an okay job.
Yeah.
And then when they announced, I suppose something to do with the Sony deal, wasn't it? And
Yeah.
that they're adding him into this MCU. And they announced the actor Tom Holland. I've never heard of him. I'm
No.
sure people didn't really know who he was, but I thought, oh, he's young. He's a
He
young.
is, and he's actually a young pup rather than someone trying to be young.
Yeah,
He's
that's
what
it.
2021. So
Yeah. So at first I was like, crikey. That is it. That seems too young for him, even though he is supposed to be that sort of age in the comics and he's at
yeah,
school and that. So I was like, okay, maybe they're going for a bit of realism there.
yeah,
So I was a bit like, okay. And then when he appears in
yeah,
Marvel's Civil War, he's an absolute badass. I thought, oh hello, he
yeah,
smashed this.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, quite
So,
good.
so he's intrigued by that. Let's get
Yeah,
to Spider-Man: Homecoming then. What are we dealing with here then? Are we dealing with a first two Raimi and maybe an Amazing Spider-Man entry, or is it my concern? And I know
yeah,
we've discussed this whilst we was out the other night, but for the audience, we'll bring it up again. My concern at seeing the trailer
yeah.
was I didn't want fucking Iron Man's hands and fingers and rocket packs all
No,
over this, and that from the trailers,
yeah.
that's the impression I got that this was a Spider-Man film with Iron Man guiding him. Is that the case, or have I been misled by what I've seen in the trailers?
I don't know if this is their intention, but I
Yeah,
had the exact same feeling,
yeah,
and it is a misleading because when you watch the film,
yeah.
that is not the case at all.
Right.
And
Okay.
and from the trailers, with you, I was like, fucking hell, Jesus, this ain't a Spider-Man film. This is Iron Man with a bit of Spider-Man.
Yeah, yeah,
But no, he really isn't overbearing in this film at all. He's used great, like it's a decent amount of length of time as well for me.
Well, the thing
Uh,
that concerned me more was he's all over the posters as well, and I was like,
yeah,
right, what are you doing?
yeah. I wonder if it's because of this Tom Holland.
They
I
didn't
know.
trust him to carry it.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think they know how fucking loved RDJ is.
yeah. If you put
So
him
they're
in it,
like, right, stick his beautiful face on the front, and everyone will come.
yeah, they will. But he's not overbearing. He's not,
Nah.
he's not a constant, jibber
Nah,
jabber
not
in
at all.
this.
I really did fear that, and like, because I do find that watching trailers the last few years has started to ruin films for me.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
thought, oh fucking hell, this is just how it's going to be. But no, they've done a clever thing where it's really. I swear there's a couple of scenes in the trailers that didn't even make the film.
It does happen, yeah, to throw
Yeah.
people off the scent. So it's a clever
So
ploy for those that
yeah,
go off and
like I
see
said,
it.
I don't know if that is intentional, but if it is,
Mm.
hats off to Mr. Marvel.
So this is not a Is it an origin story of sorts, or is he quite well established in the city of New York once the film kind of rocks up? Because I got the feeling he was already doing a lot of stuff in Civil War.
Yeah,
And is this set before or after Civil War? Actually, that's another question. But
this is set after Civil
right,
War,
okay, so it's after
so
that's all happened.
it starts off with him with Spider-Man documenting what happened in
Right,
Civil War.
I
So
think
for
I've seen that.
the people that didn't see Civil War sort of get it as well.
Right, okay,
And then it leads on straight from there. It is an origin story, but
okay,
it's because it's a reboot. They do it very cleverly. It's not you don't get all this the original origin story. You don't get this spider that bites him that we've seen for it
yeah,
twice now. You don't get the Uncle Ben story. They
right,
pretty much dump you in and say, right, you know what Spider-Man's about.
yeah,
This is about Spider-Man becoming Spider-Man. It's a really cool origin story, but it's a bit of tongue in cheek, really. It's not a, the norm.
yeah. So it's not the one that we've seen twice already.
No, right.
This is more his prominent rise as a superhero rather than him as a normal person becoming Spider-Man.
Yeah, it's a sort of split between an origin story and a coming of age story.
Yeah, yeah. Which I guess is one way of doing it. If you don't want
Mm.
to go through the origin story, you just kind of assume that the audience is familiar enough to know where he came from, and
Yeah.
then you can get a different kind of story out of it. So what are we dealing with here? Is this a good entry, bad entry, mediocre entry? What sort of tale are we getting?
Well, once dust was settled, I thought it was the best Spider-Man film out of
Oh,
the five.
all right, that means I've got to watch it now.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's difficult because I'm terrible for this, but I use Rotten Tomatoes as gospel.
Yeah, yeah.
Saw the scores before I went in, and when I
Right.
saw the scores, I thought,
Cheating.
right, okay.
Yeah.
So then that was poisoned in my mind. So I thought, right, I can't. It's hard to give it a slagging when I know that's there.
When the
But
critics are saying it's got a 93% rating, you can't. It's difficult to pick holes in it.
it is. So I was trying,
Yeah.
and I think there's a couple I did. But yeah, no, it's a quality film. It's just the way they do it. Like I say, they really don't hold your hand through the film,
No.
and
No.
they expect you to know, like, the people that are going to see this film will be the fans of the Marvel universe and stuff, so they know what Spider-Man's all about.
Yeah.
Um,
Don't treat it like a thicko.
No, that's right. It's quite a clever film as well. It's got a lot of likable characters in it. Even
Yeah.
the villains are likable in this film, and you can see it's sort of like a bit of a realistic take on it as well. So you're sort of grounded.
Yeah. How is Tom Holland? Is he a good Spider-Man?
He is. He's really good. Yeah, he plays the Peter Parker role really
Mm.
good.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, because of his age. He's Spider-Man slash Peter Parker.
Yeah.
Is 15 in the film,
Right. Yeah. So
so he's in high school
high
or
school
the
still. Yeah.
equivalent.
That is
Yeah.
very young.
So there's a lot of sort of teenage kids in this film, and to be honest, myself personally, I'm not a big fan of kids in TV films, but they're not really
Yeah.
kids. I suppose they're teenagers.
Yeah.
But like the new Power Rangers film, that was all kids and stuff. I'm like, ah.
Yeah.
So this, I did have a bit of a mindset thinking, well, but to be honest, they're likable. The
Yeah.
characters are likable.
Excellent. You may have answered this already slightly when we talked about Iron Man, but does this feel more like a standalone Spider-Man film with a sprinkle of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, bearing down it, or does
Yeah.
it feel like an extension of the Marvel Cinematic Universe that's been created, knowing that we're leading towards Infinity War essentially,
Yeah.
come next year or the year after?
No, this is definitely a Spider-Man film with sprinkles of the MCU, definitely.
Okay.
The basically the sort of plot of the film, this isn't a spoiler, but it's
Oh,
it's him trying to prove to Iron Man
he's
that
already proved it. He whooped fucking
yeah,
Captain America's
exactly.
ass at the airport. I've seen it.
Exactly. So he's trying to prove himself to be an Avenger.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
so yeah, it's definitely, like I say, he's not overbearing in the film,
No.
but it sort of appears here and there, and you get your little sprinkles. But the main focus of the film that's not sort of the main focus of the film. The main
No.
focus is him becoming sort of learning how to be Spider-Man. So it's this sort of origin story, and then it's got these little notions of MCU going. Oh, remember us? We've got to
Yeah.
link this in.
This has got to come back at some point.
Yeah.
Excellent. Any other good points or bad points you want to bring up before we go to the formalities here?
Numero 1 point that should be mentioned, and
Sure.
this will get half of the male population to watch this film.
Yeah.
Aunt May is an absolute
MILF.
banger.
Yeah, I remember seeing her in the in Civil War. I'm thinking, good grief, that's a
Sure, yeah,
different take of Aunt May, isn't it?
it's the same one, yeah, as the one. And so there was like a meme, and it had the old granny from the Raimi films
Yeah,
to the one that was in the Amazing Spider-Man films to this one, and Jesus Christ, I like their take on this.
absolute upgrade.
Absolute blinding.
Um,
Um, for bad points, this is hard to pick out because it's a really well-paced film.
right, okay.
Um, like I say, if you're a fan of this sort of series, then you're not really going to be disappointed. I think it'll be people will struggle to not like this Tom Holland. He's like a very likable character.
Yeah,
There's probably a few little jokes in there that are hit and miss, but
yeah,
it's a very comedic film. It's definitely it's probably the most comedic Spider-Man film, I'd say. The one
excellent.
thing that I will say though, like I mentioned earlier, I did go and watch this in IMAX 3D.
Right,
It was an absolute shit shower.
was it?
I'm not a big I
Um,
was a big fan of 3D, and then I find it's better at home in
yeah.
on like a smaller screen. But where he's sort of whizzing about so much, it just blurred my eyes completely. So it was redundant really. It was just like it's a big blur. I can't see anything.
All right. So the tip
I
is
kept,
don't see this in 3D.
yeah,
Go
we'll
go
go
for the
for
2D
3D.
option.
Go
Fair enough.
2D. Yeah, you can't go wrong with good old
Yeah.
2D.
And that's not a problem with the film. That's just how
No,
people
no,
consume
no,
it.
no.
So
It might even be my eyes, to be fair. So
might need to get them. Might need to get them checked out.
yeah.
Well, let's do it then. What's your official score for Spider-Man: Homecoming? Tom Holland starring role.
So for the MCU, the
Yep.
bad boys, oh no, they didn't. No, have they been on a bit of, I can't remember. What was the last film? Was Civil War the last one to come out?
I think it might have been, but don't quote
What
me on that
about
because
Doctor Strange?
oh yeah, that would have been
Would
part of
that been
it.
after, would it?
Yeah, that would. I think that 'cause it's only just coming out on
Right,
Sky on these shores. So
yeah.
um,
So I
Doctor
was,
Strange or Guardians of the Galaxy if you count that
oh,
too.
cool, yeah. So oh yeah, that would have been the one. Yeah, definitely
Yeah,
Guardians. So they're on a high at the minute. They're definitely going up
yeah.
and going even higher,
Oh
baby.
wow.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Spider-Man: Homecoming gets my official grading of an 87%.
87%. There you go. That is a high one. That's the highest one we've had.
That's the highest one we've had so far.
Oh, excellent. Is that going to be tough to beat, do you think?
That will, yeah.
But yeah, we will keep rolling out the gaming, the films, the telly, maybe some sport coming up to you guys. Mr. Adkins, thanks very much for joining me as always.
Thank you, Joe.
It's a pleasure. Everyone else, thanks for your time and ta-da.